Welcome to RHI Sociable City Interviews, where we meet with global thought leaders on nightlife and the social economy. Today we are joined by Tiffany Kearns, Senior Vice President of Industry Relations and Philanthropy at the Country Music Association and Executive Director of the Country Music Association Foundation. Tiffany oversees the strategic direction and management of all CMA's membership events, initiatives, and programming. She was named a Billboard Country Power Player for 5 consecutive years, beginning in 2021. Hey, Tiffany, it's so great to meet you and to talk to you in person.
And you as well, Jim.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, again, thank you for your support of the upcoming conference or summit that we're having in Nashville.
We are thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah. So I'm just looking to get a little bit of your background and how you ended up in this position and what your role is.
Yeah. So I serve as the Senior Vice President of Industry Relations and Philanthropy at the Country Music Association. And I have dual roles. So I'm also the Executive Director of our foundation. So let's talk first, I guess, about CMA and the role as a trade association. We are responsible for connecting the business of country music to the people who make it thrive. So, focusing on industry health, member engagement through initiatives like mental health, which I hope we are able to talk about, leadership development, and then think about professional community building. How do we make sure that we stay collaborative and community based so that way the industry continues to what I believe is the country community is so well connected because of the community that we preserve and we protect. Um, and I think it is also what makes the genre and the format really unique. So I know that CMA really has this responsibility for wanting to be innovative and think about the future, but we really want to pour back into the individuals who make it special in the first place. On the other side, the CMA Foundation, we invest in music education all across the country, so not specific to Nashville. And we want to ensure that every single child has access to the transformative power of music, because at the end of the day, it's propelling a child further in anything and everything that they're doing, but it is also the pipeline to the next generation of creatives for our industry as well. So focusing on how we build it up, and then once an individual gets to the country music community, how we continue to build around them so they can have success.
Well, this leads me to a question that we didn't talk about, but in that continuum, you go from the people who are in high school who pick up their first instrument, and then some people have access to proper training and some people don't, or they don't have access to the equipment, and then they continue to strive to get to where they could do some performances in school. Then eventually, the road to success, like with Bruce Springsteen, can often begin as a busker on the side of the street. And then that gets a little bit of an audience, and you get to play in a local bar or pub or tavern, and then that leads you to a venue that has a bigger stage and better lighting and sound, and then you build a clientele and you get to a bigger stage and lighting until eventually you're playing Madison Square Garden. So it sounds to me that that's the role of your foundation is to work, and also for your association, to make all of that pathway possible.
And I think also building along the way, individuals, for us, we associations should be pushing their members to never stop learning, to remain curious. And so I think about the different offerings that we have. 2 weeks ago, we had an artist academy for up and coming emerging talent that has a desire to want to play larger venues or be commercially successful. So how do we make sure that we are um, showcasing, but also providing them an opportunity to have conversation with other people within the format? CMA is not necessarily always the expert on the specific topic, but our job is to help facilitate. And I think facilitating that curiosity and also providing the information that allows someone to make better decisions for themselves and their business is the role that we have. And on the foundation front, if we don't pour into our young people and we don't push them to not only have that creative outlet, I don't think that we are being good stewards of the future of our business. Now, we don't do it for that purpose. That is a secondary reason to be supporting music ed. We do it because we know that students that participate in music and the arts, they just outperform their peers. They have a sense of empathy that you can only get when you participate in music, the arts, and sports. And so we just feel that with music being in our DNA, we want to make sure we're doing everything in our power to start while they're young and then continue to, carry them forward as they are navigating, whatever their business trajectory is in life.
Well, when you bring up the idea of empathy, I can't think of any music genre that brings more empathy to their songwriting than country music. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is really it marks the stages of life in ways that no other music genre does.
Yeah.
And so what makes country music be able to speak to people of different backgrounds and of different generations?
Well, first, I think it's grounded in truth and human experience. And people want to be seen. They want to feel like when they listen to something, that you are telling their story. So it isn't necessarily, I always find it funny when someone goes, "Oh, but country music, it's not a genre for me because it's about a small town." And it's like, but that small town story is for somebody. Actually, let me give you a country song that might be, more of a fit to what you have experienced in life. So I don't think that country music should ever be put in this category that it is one thing. At the end of the day, what makes it so beautiful is that it speaks to real human experiences and it's deeply personal. That is the thing that I absolutely love about our format is that it's so relatable. So it feels like it truly feels like music is this universal language in that regard. But also the connection that I think country specifically brings to its fans is a bit unique. Um, I've now been around this format for over a decade, and the way in which the artist and by the way, the music business community behind it thinks about the fan experience is incredibly authentic. And so I think that just translates really well. Um, Again, because it's grounded in truth, and that is what keeps bringing people back generation after generation. I don't think there's this like one thing successful story that's being told, but it's the success of many stories being told um, from a variety of different perspectives. And it really does make this format really special.
Yeah, from my own experience, it speaks to, a child, a song about a child, recognizing their parents or parents recognizing their children or falling in love or breaking up or
Yeah.
getting married or getting divorced or, there's so many issues that are covered within the whole country music playbook. It seems to me that it does touch upon what a lot of people would really appreciate about music. So how do you feel your association, educates the public that it's not just for small town folks growing up in, backwood areas, but really it could be as equally applicable to the lives of people living in an urban environment.
Well, I think that as a first, the priority of the association is to meet the needs of the business. And if the needs of the business are saying we really want to make sure that fans are exposed to emerging talent, diversity and perspectives, different sounds, then I think two of the ways that we do that really well, and actually three ways that feels more public and fan facing, is CMA Fest, which is a 4-day music festival that happens in June in downtown Nashville. It is also taped for television. We have a Christmas show that is also on ABC. Uh, happening around Christmas time. And then in the next 8 days, we will actually have the CMA Awards here in Nashville, our 59th annual award show. So, what I would say is we use those opportunities and those assets to make sure that we are storytelling really well and that we are giving artists the opportunity to tell their story through the vehicle of music. And I think that is a responsibility and a role that we play as an association. But more than anything, fans aren't going to hear the music if the business is not, um, being pushed to think differently, if we're not being innovative, if we are not thinking about the mental health and the very unique struggles that exist in the music industry, specific and related to mental health. And so, if we keep the business healthy, fans will ultimately have a great experience. But we have dual kind of roles. We have to make sure that we wake up every day thinking about how to make sure that country music is growing and that the business is healthy. And I think again, the best ways that we do that, I think, is using our events and our television um, offerings to be able, to meet the masses. So we continue to show that country music is pop culture, that it isn't this, specific genre for the Southeast or a specific part of the country or a specific rural or, a community. It is literally for everyone. And I hope that fans see that and feel that when they see anything that we put out that's public facing or fan facing.
Well, when you talk about the business and then you talk about the artist, those are two factors that have to come together. But, the National Independent Venue Association just recently has published a report and it pointed out, I believe it was 40% of independent music venues didn't show a profit in 2024, that the
Yeah,
challenges of operating these businesses with increasing insurance, increasing security issues, just the overall utility costs that are really putting a lot of these independent venues, at risk. And sometimes it's the small independent venues that are the kind of the farm team for the major stadiums and major
sure,
venues that if you
sure.
don't have these independent venues for artists to develop themselves, then you're never going to have, another Bruce Springsteen or another, Johnny Cash, because
Absolutely.
they all have to work their way up. And that working their way up is always a story about Nashville. It's always that it's like people who go to Hollywood to become an actor. If you want to become a
Sure.
musician, you go to Nashville and you write songs and you play in the small clubs, and then eventually you get your break and you start working your way up. But along the lines of mental health, I heard a speaker at NEVA. I wish I could remember his name, but he's a leader in advocating for more a focus on the mental health issues of musicians. And he really said, when you're starting out, you think about how one day you're going to perform at Madison Square Garden, but they don't tell you that you might be drug addicted, depressed, suicidal, or alcoholic by the time you get to Madison Square Garden. There are all these factors that really impact that musician with the road traveling, the isolation from family, the easy access to alcohol and drugs that really can make that lifestyle put people at risk. And I know that your foundation has been doing things to try to draw attention to the needs of people within the industry, particularly the musician side, but even within the venues itself to help them to access mental health services.
Yeah. I think so. You bring up something that's really interesting, obviously, talking about the musicians, the artists, the talent. So we call those, principal talent. But the other thing that I think prior to the pandemic, it was always a known thing. There are really great organizations and nonprofits that are supporting what we'll call principal talent, artists, the musicians. Um, and after the pandemic, what we started to see, or actually while we were in the thick of it, what we started to see is that the team surrounding the artist really started to have significant mental health challenges, whether that was increased anxiety, Whether it was honestly having identity crisis, like I have always done this. I've come off the road. I don't, is this what I've meant to do? I have these feelings that I don't necessarily know how to process. I mean, we were just seeing this influx of need. So so think about everything opens back up. And all of us, I think society as a whole, we're still trying to figure out what is right because we went from primarily all operating one singular way to now being readily accessible and available at any given time because of things like Zoom and technology. And so I think we're still trying to figure out what is comfortable. But what we started to see is that now shows came back on, and rather than the artist going, man, I'm the one that everyone else is catering to, that's what they were used to, and nothing wrong with that. They are the CEO, so naturally they're taking the brunt of whatever is being felt or fielded from everybody else, but everyone was trying to protect and preserve the CEO's mental health. Let's call that the artist. And then coming out of the pandemic, everything opens. And now all of these individuals are like, but I actually need the help. And so we started having artists call, say, my team needs this.
Mm.
Like I actually need to figure out how I can support the greater team. And then we started to see that permeate beyond just individuals that were out on the road performing and their teams. We started to see it permeate in buildings all down Music Row, and in our greater music business community. So I think we've just recognized that if we say we are going to show up every day and think on behalf of the industry and make sure it has the resources, the research, the opportunities in order to succeed so country music can continue to grow, we would be crazy to not say mental health has to be a key component of that. And I'm really thrilled that I work for an organization that has prioritized it because if we don't take care of our people, we won't have anything to stand on in the first place. We have to make sure that our artists and talent have the ability to be creative. We want to make sure the support services that surround them, that greater music industry has the resources that they need to continue to support. And so I think we're telling everyone, hey, it is okay to say I'm not okay. It is okay to pause and be mindful. We're trying to, you know, I don't know, take out the concern or the nervousness that it is considered to be weak if you prioritize the things that you are going through so you can be a successful business professional. So we've doubled down, we've invested now. We just made an announcement last week. We made a $3 million gift to it is going to be out of Belmont University, the Center of Mental Health for Music and Entertainment. And then we have all of these partners that are doing really great work on their own that we're also investing in. So that way we can say we are wrapping our arms around the issue as best as we can and at least guiding people to find the resources. I cannot force someone to find the resource, but we're trying to make it as easy and accessible as possible. So that we don't look up one day and go, man, we're not paying attention to these signs of people needing help. Uh, Music Cares released a study. We are, 50% more likely to experience depression in the music and entertainment space. And so those are things that we just have to pay attention to as an association that's trying to lead an entire format forward. I don't know that we're doing it perfectly, but I certainly give us an A+ for trying and making the commitment.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, and I believe this is true as well. We often just look at the artist, but we don't see the ecosystem that exists behind the artist. You've got
Yeah.
excuse me, you have the sound engineer, the lighting engineer, the roadies that set up the equipment, the drivers of the tour buses. You've got the ticket promoters, the ticket purchasers, the management of attendance, the management of all the swag that goes along with the concert. And you've got a whole army of people, and they live the same lifestyle of being on the road and working
Absolutely.
nights and being separated from their family. So it's not just the artist. The
Yep.
artist is the one who gets the notoriety, but
Yeah,
it's the backbone of the artist's success that sometimes gets weak, and they need
absolutely.
as much support. Not only going into the venues and the bartenders and the servers and the security people and the managers, there's a whole ecosystem surrounding that talent that
Absolutely.
has to be working in sync with each other. Now, Nashville is known as a music city. In fact, that's its brand, its domain. But what makes Nashville a music city, and what is it that basically makes a city a music city?
Well, I think it's the artists that I think it's the artists that perform here. You cannot go anywhere in the city and not hear or feel music somewhere. So it isn't just like, oh, we have a music district. It is a part of the DNA in the city. And it's not, by the way, just country music. You really get exposure to every kind of music here. But I think the thing that is unique is that it isn't just for entertainment for us. You touched on, I think one of the best words that we can use is it is successful because you have the artist and the talent, but you have the ecosystem that supports it. So when that ecosystem is literally a part of the fabric that we call Nashville, I don't think it's hard to say, oh, we're Music City. It is such a it is such a heartbeat. It is also, I mean, it is unparalleled in terms of the folks that live here, that make music here, that um, call it home. I just think we all have embraced and also feel the responsibility of going, hey, we're Music City. Yes, country music plays a piece in that, but we want to make sure that we are talking about jazz and folk and Americana and hip hop. I mean, every gospel has a huge presence here. So I actually love that we are somewhere where the larger constituents, the larger city itself has employees that are a part of it, being a part of that ecosystem. So it isn't just, oh, we have live bands and it's for entertainment. This is how we all live. This is how we breathe into the city. And so I think it naturally has become that. You know, our hospitals care for the music business professionals that are here. It is why when you walk into a hospital, it feels very music. I think every industry has embraced the fact that it isn't just about entertainment and performance. It's that larger ecosystem that everyone touches or everyone has a certain degree of separation from because they know the person that works at the label. They know the person that works at the publishing company. They know the songwriter, they know the producer, they know the studio musician. Everyone knows someone who is working in the music business, not necessarily performing. And I think that is what makes the city really unique.
Well, this has been great, and I always say that music is the heartbeat of sociability, and I guess it's important to keep the heart healthy if we want to have a sociable city. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
I cannot wait, Jim.